A damning new court filing reveals how top executives and some of the biggest names at Fox really felt about Donald Trump's lies around the 2020 election, even as they hyped his bogus claims on air. And as CNN Sunlen Serfati reports, it's all coming to light as part of a $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit brought by Dominion Voting Systems.
Is the fix already in?
It is a damning indictment of Fox News.
The outcome of our presidential election was seized from the hands of voters.
As a network publicly and repeatedly promoted former President Trump's 2020 election fraud claims to millions of their viewers.
Every American should be angry. You should be outraged. You should be worried. You should be concerned at what has happened in the election and the lead up to this election.
Privately, top anchors and executives mocked Trump's lies, calling them ludicrous, really crazy stuff, and totally off the rails. The revelations coming from hundreds of pages of newly released evidence in the legal filing as part of the Dominion Voting Systems lawsuit against Fox News. In this text exchanged 2 weeks after the election, Tucker Carlson texting other Fox News hosts. Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. I caught her. It's insane. He says about Trump's lawyer, Sidney Powell, and Rudy Giuliani's unfounded claims. Sidney is a complete nut. No one will work with her. Ditto with Rudy, Laura Ingraham wrote back. Tucker responds, it's unbelievably offensive to me. Our viewers are good people, and they believe it. Even as those same hosts went on the air arguing completely otherwise.
All right, these election challenges are still going on, and disturbing irregularities have been found and must be investigated to the fullest.
On election night, the network first to call Arizona for Biden.
The Fox News Decision Desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a big get for the Biden campaign.
As Trump's baseless conspiracy theories started to take hold.
This is a fraud on the American public. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Carlson wrote his producer warning that Trump could easily destroy us if we play it wrong. The court documents showing a scramble behind the scenes as viewers rebelled against Fox for calling the contest in Biden's favor, and a course correction internally to prioritize profitability over the truth. After Fox News reporter Jackie Henrich fact-checked a Trump tweet about votes being destroyed, Tucker Carlson texting his colleagues, please get her fired. Seriously, what the F? It's measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down. Fox News in a statement argues the court filing contains cherry-picked quotes lacking context, as Fox News hosts continue this week to sow doubt.
Was the 2020 election a miracle? Honestly, we don't know. We don't expect to get an answer to it tonight.
And the documents also revealing on January 6, Trump tried to call into Fox Business to get on air, but the network refused, saying it would be irresponsible and could impact a lot of people in a negative way.
That was Sunlen Serfati reporting there.
During the January 6th Capitol attack, former President Donald Trump notably did not call his Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, or the Secretary of Homeland Security. Now we've learned Trump did try to call Lou Dobbs at Fox. That is according to new court filings released from Dominion Voting Systems' $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox. New text messages also reveal how several big names at the network really felt about Trump and those pushing his 2020 voter fraud claims. Sean Hannity at one point texting that Rudy Giuliani was, quote, acting like an insane person. Laura Ingraham texting, Rudy, such an idiot. And in one message, founder Rupert Murdoch calling Trump's lies, quote, really crazy stuff. I want to talk about this now with our panel. You know, Abby, people knew who Donald Trump had not called during the January 6th riot, but this attempt to make sort of an appearance on Fox, this wasn't known about.
Yeah, that is the fascinating part about this. Our colleague Annie Grayer says that her sources on the January 6th committee said that they didn't know that Trump had attempted to call into Fox News. And there's been so much attention about what was he doing in those hours when the Capitol was breached. And now we know. I mean, imagine what could have happened if instead of his aides really twisting his arm to put out, a statement on Twitter and a video trying to maybe get those people out of the Capitol, he'd called in to Fox Business and egged them on. I think we could be looking at a very different scenario here. And the fact that Trump was seemingly censored by even Fox on that day. It really undermines the conservative argument that these technology companies like Twitter and Facebook were totally off base in worrying what Trump could do with his platform on and after January 6th.
And this is really just the latest in a series of things we've learned, because we know those Fox hosts that afternoon were texting Mark Meadows and urging the White House to do something. Sean Hannity did it repeatedly. Laura Ingraham did as well. So what this really has done is kind of answer the question that many of us who've known some of these hosts for a long time have been wondering: do they really believe what they're saying? And they don't. That certainly is a question for Tucker Carlson. You know, he certainly has had many stripes over the years, but this sort of laying bare to all of this. But the reality is, those hosts from the very beginning, when they were seeing those images, they were trying to get the White House to stop him, and then it just went on from there.
But I think we know something even more sinister, which is that profits were put over the truth, right? They believed, and they were more concerned in many of those texts with the stock price. You see texts talking about, we're losing audience share to Newsmax. They were more concerned about that than trying to say, how do we help our audience understand the truth of what's actually happening? And then the fact that they went after people who actually tried to do fact checking and tried to get those people fired. Again, profitability over telling the truth.
To me, what this shows is the emperor has no clothes, and this is just like the modern version of that. Everyone was focused on the fact that Trump was president and trying to stay, you know, in his good graces, in his orbit, when in reality the ice cube was melting and Trump had lost the election and voters were searching for more information. And I would have liked to have seen, you know, a lot more unbiased reporting from Fox, where they were more focused on what was actually happening and whether or not these claims were true, instead of just carrying this information.
Because they knew, right? So they could have provided that. That's what we've learned. I'm curious what you guys think about how this information could play out at a moment, say, during a Republican debate. I mean, what would that look like? You would expect that Donald Trump would be asked, hey, you know, during January 6th, you didn't call your defense secretary or your Homeland Security secretary, but you were calling Fox News.
Trump has a problem. Look, in 2016, when he ran, he didn't have a record. So he got to be the disruptor. He got to be the outsider, and he didn't have a record to run on. In 2020, he just got the party's nomination. So we haven't seen, you know, in round 3, we're going to see Trump have to defend his record in a Republican primary. And I think he's going to have to answer questions like these and also questions about many, many other decisions he made. And I think a lot of that is not going to wear well with the base. And I think there's an awful lot of fodder for Nikki Haley and whoever else jumps in to really pounce on him with.
The thing we should remember, though, is that the reason that Fox in this context was afraid of, you know, these election lies and telling the truth about it is because the audience was demanding it. They wanted it. And even to this day, a lot of Republicans, they may be tired of Trump, but a lot of them still believe these lies. And so to your question about what happens on a presidential debate stage, they're going to be trying to make the case against Trump without disavowing Trumpism, because this stuff right now, I think, is pretty baked in the Republican electorate. Huge swaths of the Republican base believe this to be true. And I don't think that there is a Republican candidate who has the chance of winning the nomination who can really say what we know to be true, which is that all of this is false. It was made up.
Which is why, you know, Trump would probably lean right into it and say, I was trying to call to make sure people knew the truth. And look what they did to me. They would, right? He would go, as he always does, to being, you know, calling himself the victim of the media elites. And again, because he knows that he has that 1/3 of that base that will always believe him, that will be with him. And I think one of the things we're going to see play itself out in the 2024 primary is, when is the point? Who creates the permission structure for those voters who might say, I'm still loyal to Trump, but I think it's time for someone else? Somebody's going to have to help create that bridge for those voters.
Doesn't that just reinforce, though, what in the general election, what we've learned from the midterms, right? Doesn't that just reinforce what general election voters don't like about Trumpism, what they've rejected?
Sure, absolutely. And that is why one of the things that worries Republican leaders more than anything is what has happened over the popular vote for the last 7 or 8 elections. As Nikki Haley pointed out this week, Republicans have lost the popular vote 7 out of the 8 presidential election. So that is sort of the question hanging over all this. But this is a defamation lawsuit. This is only the very beginning of what we're learning. We're going to learn a lot more. As Oliver was reporting, much of that information was redacted. So we're going to learn a ton. So who knows if they will win that defamation lawsuit, but by the end of this, we will learn a ton. And it's hard to imagine that at least some heads might not roll at Fox. It's a very precarious situation for them and the family.
We've already learned a ton.